How about now? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me, PL? I hope so. This is try number 3. Today's just one of them days, right? So I'm hoping that you guys can hear me now. My name is Brittany Lewis. I'm a professional graphic designer, illustrator, and tarot deck enthusiast. And Sundays is the day that I set aside time to work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So again, PL, if you can hear me, please let me know. But we just gonna keep rolling until okay, PL. Thank you so much. I don't know. It's just one of them days. It's one of them days today. But thank you so much for joining me, whether you're watching this live or the replay. I think we're in about 3 minutes, and 3 minutes of this. You could not hear anything I was saying. So I'm gonna start over. Again, my name is Brittany Lewis. If you want to support this channel, if you want to support myself as an artist, if you want to support this project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, there are a couple of ways that you can do that. One of the most easiest, freest, and simplest ways you can do that is by hitting the like button on this particular video and sharing it with your friends. If you know someone who you think may enjoy learning about creating tarot, learning about digital illustration, if you want other people who enjoy the same types of things that you enjoy, hitting a thumbs up is the quickest and easiest way to do that. Another way to support myself, this project, and this channel is by visiting my shop, because now through tomorrow, I do believe, December 3rd. Now through December 3rd, everything in my shop is 40% off, just like your regular old Black Friday sale. So while you're supporting businesses, take into consideration supporting me as well. And that's everything from canvas prints to poster prints to books, journals, ebooks, the whole thing. And so when you go to my shop, you'll be greeted by this beautiful pink banner. If you go to the home page, this will be like the first thing that pops up, along with a pop-up that'll grant you free shipping for your first order. And you'll have the option to pick from t-shirts, canvas prints, ebooks, books, posters, everything you could possibly name is available, and everything ships within 2 days or so, except canvas prints, which are made to order. So those are just the first couple of things I have to show you guys, and let's get into it. So again, it just seems like one of them days. We're starting off with some technical difficulties. I think I was late to sit down and get this set up, and we're just gonna pick up where we left off. I'm gonna turn this light on, so just in case it gets dark. There we go. Just in case the light from the window starts to fade, you guys can still see me pretty well. So yeah, we're picking back up at the with the Two of Wands. And if you're new here, the Two of Wands is the card that we've been working on for the last, I would say, it's been a minute, maybe 6-7 weeks or so. Why it's taking this long? Because life has been life and doing this thing, right? Today, earlier, a few minutes ago, we had experienced that. But in the meantime, we're going to pick up where we left off. Now, I did overestimate the amount of free time that I had or would have this past week. So I have not worked on this at all since our live stream. I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't realize the holidays were this week until until the holidays got here. And so I do hope that you all had a wonderful holiday season. I hope that you guys enjoyed your family and ate some good food and all of that, because I know myself, this week at the gym is going to be a tough one to try to burn off everything that I had to eat. But yes, we are going to pick right back up with the Two of Wands. Now, where we left off last episode was that we were working on the globe. And since this is the first time that I'm looking at this particular image since last week, I think it looks great. It's exactly the way I would like for it to be. We don't want it to take up too much importance in this picture. And so I think today the goal is going to be to work on our bookshelf. Now, in doing that, I do have some book brushes that I got from Devin Kurtz, who is the person who I also have like the plant brushes and things like that from. So if you have not had an opportunity to check out 2 streams ago with Sam and Lee, I do have a link pinned in the comments that has all kinds of resources for brushes, specifically the ones that I get from Devin Kurtz, as well as some that I get from the artist Eric Anthony. That can be very helpful to you in your digital art career if this is something that you're interested in. But yeah, we're gonna jump into these books. Now, I have not used these brushes. So what I'm going to do is experiment on a different document here for a second, just so I can kind of see how they behave and which brushes will, I think, work the best for what it is that I'm going to paint. And then we'll get into it. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're already starting off with a bang. Thank you so much, PL, again, and welcome. PL, let's give her a shout out for helping me out with the sound, because I would have had no clue, and we would have gone through this whole hour of me talking talking and not knowing that you guys couldn't hear me. So I appreciate you, PL, for the MVP. Remind me a little bit later. I might send you a little something to thank you. I really appreciate it. So, okay, so these are the book brushes that I have from Devon, and there are, I would say, about I don't know, 10 to 11 brushes, and they all do different things. Again, I have not used these brushes. So, what I'm going to do right now, before I get into my actual composition with my two of wands, is I'm going to experiment a little bit just so I can see kind of how they behave. So this is the book stack brush, which is nice. The brushes aren't okay. So if I move side to side, they do that. If I move up and down, they do that. Okay. All right. And so the next brush is the mixed books too. What does that look like? Not too bad. So the goal with these is just to kind of cut down on the amount of time that I'm drawing rectangles. I won't leave these brushes the way that they are. I'll probably add some, razzle dazzle to them so that I know. Okay, I think that's what I want. Same size books. Yep. So that I kind of am adding my own, signature, my own style and things like that to it. But this is going to give me a little bit of a head start, right? So I don't have to draw each individual um, set of books and we can just move right along. So yeah, again, I hope you guys had a great week. And for me, life has been on 1,000. Life's been on 1,000. So I have not looked at these cards at all. But I think that kind of gives me a fresh perspective so that today we're looking at them brand new. So I think I got a kind of good idea of how I want to do this. I do like the tall book stack, and I think I like the same size books. So we're going to play around a little bit with that over in our bookshelf. So that's what we're going to work on today. So yeah, it's been a great it's been a great week. I had an opportunity to watch the show Arcane on Netflix. So if you have not checked that out, it is a wonderful show. It is so awesome, especially if you like steampunk, if you like sort of like the like sci-fi fantasy type thing. If you like the game League of Legends, which I have never played before, I was familiar with the game, but I've never actually sat down and played the game. It was a great show to watch. The story was really well written, but more importantly, I really enjoyed the art style. So when we're studying and sort of getting inspiration for art as artists, it comes from everywhere. And for me, I was really inspired by the way there we go. I was really inspired by the way that show looked, primarily because some part of it really reminded me of my own work. I could see myself working on something like an arcane because the style was pretty similar to my own art style, and that I really liked and appreciated. I'm gonna try a different set. So we're just gonna experiment again. I'm just sort of trying out the different brushes to see, um, no, to see which ones fit and if they fit at all. They may not even fit, but we're gonna see so that I can, shorten my workload a little bit. And it's looking like maybe I should just do this manually, but we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, Arcane. Loved it. It was a very well drawn and well animated show. It was well written, and I had the pleasure to sort of binge it from start to finish because I had the show in my list for a long time, but I just had not watched it. And when I work, I like to either listen to music or I like to just listen to a show or watch the show. But this show had me where I was like, ain't no work getting done. I gotta find out what's going on. So I really did like it. It had lots of great character development. And again, the art style was something that I could see myself work on. It looks like something that I would have drawn. I don't know that I like this. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to pivot, and what I'm going to do is actually just draw these in manually, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it was a beautiful show. And so one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was because it's so similar to my own art style, and landscapes is an area in art that I want to grow in and, sort of evolve in. I'm thinking about using that show as a point of study for myself as I learn and grow and develop in landscapes. Now, I absolutely want to use actual environments, right? But I think that there were a couple of scenes in that show that had the most spectacular environmental design that I have ever seen in an animated series. And I want to learn from it, right? And so that's sort of how we do. As artists, when we see something, we're inspired by something, there's no harm in experimenting with the style, with experimenting with, just kind of learning from the experience. Oh, what am I doing? Learning from the experience that from art that other people have created, and then turning that into something uniquely your own, right? So that's something that I really really enjoy doing. I believe I kind of want to show, I don't know if I can on YouTube Live, but I do want to show some of the stills for the artwork so that you all can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But it was just beautiful. It was a really really nice and enjoyable show to look at. So I'm just going to paint in some blocks here. Now I did want to use those brushes to sort of mitigate some of the work, but I think because I have not worked on this particular painting in a while, I think it'll be good for me to just kind of do some brush strokes and get back used to painting, right? Because now what I have worked on this week has been a traditional acrylic painting. And although the base skill set is the same, you have to know how to draw in order to paint. The mechanics of it are slightly different, right? Because you have to mix colors, you have to, keep your brushes wet and keep them clean, and all of those things. And the blending mechanics of blending is slightly different. And so all of that have been sort of programming myself with this week because that's what I've been working on. And so I think it's a good idea for me to do these manually. We're gonna do it manually. Sometimes the cheats don't work, or maybe it's just that I'm a little inexperienced with those particular brushes, and that's perfectly okay. So I'm just laying down some base flats, right, in the general shapes of a book. And then what I'll do is come back and add some details. Now, this is going to act very similar to our globe. I don't necessarily want to give it all the detail in the world, right? Because the bookshelf's not really important. It's very inconsequential. If anything, it just kind of solidifies the environment. So we want to do that. And speaking of, I know that I do have a tendency to share resources with you guys, especially you all who are interested in learning digital art and business and all of that. I just learned today that if you have a library card in your county, you have free access to LinkedIn Learning. I had no idea. And why is this important, right? Maybe you've never heard of LinkedIn Learning. Maybe it's new for you. And so let me help you out a little bit. So let's say, for instance, that you want to develop a professional skill. Maybe you want to start a business, and this is you that wants to start that business. And maybe that you want to take some business classes. Maybe you don't know where to begin. If you have a library card for your county, so for me, and here's my library card because I just signed up for it today. This is my library card for Shelby County because I live in Shelby County, Tennessee. For whatever county you live in, and this is for everyone, you will want to go to Google, type in your county name, libraries, and LinkedIn Learning. And it should take you to your library's website where you can sign up for LinkedIn Learning absolutely free. That gives you access to like 16,000 courses, I think it said. And it's all, like I said, it's all free. So today I learned that and I wanted to share it with you. So what do they have? They have business development courses. They have technology courses. So if you want to get into cybersecurity, if you want to do UX, UI, if you want to learn photography, videography, if you want to learn graphic design, all of that's there and all of that's for free. So if that is something that you're interested in, so for my friends who are looking into doing graphic design, for instance, for my buddy that wants to do business, all of y'all want to do different things and have different professional development courses, you have access to that absolutely free. And all you need is a library card, and that's free. All right. So I had absolutely no idea. I was on Threads today, and I really enjoy Threads. I was never really into Twitter, but I do really enjoy Threads. And so I was on Threads, and somebody shared that neat tidbit of information. And I wanted to pass that on to you guys so that you also know that you have access to LinkedIn Learning absolutely free. Right. Had no idea. I was like, I guess when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I am happy to share that. And maybe you knew about it. I don't know. But in case you didn't, that is something that everyone who has a library, public library card has access to. And I don't know if I'm logged. Yes, I am. I'm logged in. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So this is LinkedIn Learning, and I was just exploring different things that they had, right? So for me, I like to learn about marketing because marketing is very helpful in my business. I wanted to learn a little bit about UX UI because as a graphic designer, that seems like the next sort of pivot in terms of like job security and that kind of thing, just in case the business don't work out or just in case I need a backup plan or something like that. It's always good to know and good to have information on, right? So they have SEO courses, they have nonprofit fundraising, they have all kinds of things, entrepreneurship, front end development, technical support, and all of this is free for you if you have a library card. So let me share this little game with you. Like I said, if you have a library card, this is what mine looks like here in the city of Memphis because we are the Memphis Grizzlies. So I do have mine, and on the back of that is a barcode and a number, and you just use that number in the pen, and you get access to all of this information absolutely free. Right? All right. So again, for my friends that are looking to develop, looking to launch a business, maybe don't know where to start, maybe start there. I don't know, rather than going into a sort of university setting or community college setting, that might be a place to at least begin your sort of look into developing your business skills and then going into the next step. All right, so LinkedIn Learning. I just learned this today, man. I had absolutely no idea. And again, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, but yeah, I wanted to share it with you. So what I'm doing again is I am just drawing in some of the book shapes, just different colors so that we have a little bit of color variation. Now, what I do want to be careful of is making sure that things aren't too bright and too saturated, like this orange and this teal color are skirting a little too close to the sun. But we'll go back and change those because I don't want the eye to focus too much on what's going on in the background. The main objective is that everyone's paying attention to what our main characters are doing, right? So for the time being, we're just going to paint in, like I said, paint in some colors. And we're going to use some of these references. And I'll probably go back to our Hierophant reference again, which is the card that we're using as a color palette reference, so that I can have those same colors. But the books are very, very inconsequential. I just want them to be there, right? I want this to read as a library scene. And that's sort of the more important thing, that the shapes are there, right? So we're going to keep going and see where it goes. Now, again, some of this may have detail and some of it may not. I just kind of wanted to read as books, and then I want you to pay more attention to what's going on with our characters. And I want to make sure that I balance out the things that are important, making sure things are not too bright. So this particular white is skirting, again, a little close to the sun, but we'll fix that as we go. Right? So let me see if I have another reference that I can pull from. So this is my wand. That's the books. See, these are books. Now, if you are watching the screen and you're seeing these pictures move across the screen, this is what I refer to as my reference tab. So I'm actually going to take this out because I have it in there twice. In the reference tab, I'm able to load in images that I can use for whatever purpose in my drawing, right? So in this case, I'm using these 3 library scenes to sort of pick colors from different books and kind of get the idea of what a library sort of looks like, so that when I go into my illustrations, I can get close to it. I don't want to do exactly what I see in this particular case. Sometimes you might want to do as close to what you see as possible, but you do want to be careful about that if you're creating something to sell. But I don't necessarily want to have the exact library. I just want to have the exact feeling of a library, right? I want it to have this old brown look. I want to have, lots of books and sizes and things like that on my shelf, so that again, we're sending the message that we're in a place of study. And so that when we're looking at what our characters are doing, it reads as, okay, well, maybe they're planning, right? So all of that plays into the psychology of, telling a story in our picture. And last week I did touch a little bit on telling stories in your artwork. When I was watching it back, I noticed that I didn't finish. But one of the things that I think is very, very important in your artwork is that you are telling a story of some kind, because we can always read something from the artist, right? So sometimes, people are very political in their artwork. Sometimes people are very kitschy in their artwork. It's up to you to tell what story, but you want to make sure that you're actually communicating something. And you know what? I'm saying that, but I guess for some people that's not as important, but for me that's something that I really sort of leaned into in recent years, is making sure that my art tells some sort of story, right? In my case, the story was to be, or the goal and the objective was to be purposefully introspective. So to me, that means while I may not share a lot of, my personal opinions and things like that in the internet landscape, right? You'll see a lot of that in the artwork that I choose to create. Right. So you'll see that you have deities who look like me, right? You'll have goddesses who are shaped like me. You'll have scenes of intelligence and study and things like that, because I think that that's important to have represented in my artwork, right? I think that says a lot about who I am and what I find important, and it acts as a mirror so that you learn a little bit about me as a creator, right? And I think that all art sort of serves that same function, whether or not the artist is aware of that or not, right? So sometimes people can create work and they're just sort of creating what they think will sell, but it still sort of tells us a little bit about the mindset of that creator, right? So in my case, I wanted to make sure that I was very aware of what I was creating, very conscious of what I was creating, and do things and create things with great intention. So that's been sort of the premise of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And so the inspiration for creating a tarot deck to begin with was because I did not see myself represented in that particular landscape. Hey, Black Zetsu. I'm happy to see you. I didn't feel myself represented in that particular landscape. And so it was important to me to create the thing I wanted to see. And so a lot of times I know that because stuff comes out so fast and there's always someone creating something, sometimes we rely too heavily on allowing other people to create the things that we want to see, but sometimes it's up to us, right? So I felt wholeheartedly that it was up to me to create the tarot deck that I wanted to use. So I started tarot or picked up my first tarot deck when I was about 16. It was something that I was very, very fascinated by. And it wasn't the first sort of occult item that I had picked up. That was just the one that I was very much drawn to. I did not connect with the deck that I had, and I had a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It was a pocket-sized deck, and I didn't know what I was looking at. And at the time, there weren't a lot of resources to sort of help me sort through and learn how to read that deck. But the main thing was because it's so visual, I couldn't connect to it, right? I didn't see myself in the images. And the same thing happened when I picked up tarot again many, many years later. So I found a correlation between, not being represented in spiritual spaces and the struggles of the people who are not represented positively in those spiritual spaces. And so it became very, very important for me to create those positive representations in the spiritual landscape, in the work that I create. And they became the basis of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. Now, you'll hear me say this time and time again. When I started it, although that was the premise to create something I wanted to see, I didn't necessarily have a plan, and I wasn't necessarily sort of tied to one specific idea. And I think this sort of worked for and against me in many ways, right? So on the one hand, it allows me to be extremely creative, meaning that I'm not sort of boxed into an idea at any given time, because I didn't start this with a particular theme and I didn't have a roadmap or anything like that in place when I began this project. And so I wasn't necessarily pigeonholed to an idea, which can sometimes stifle our creativity, right? On the other hand, because I didn't have things sort of laid out in place early on, I've had to learn a lot as I go, right? Now, I think I said once before, or maybe a couple live streams ago, that I think if I was to go back, I would plan a little bit more. I would, but I don't think I would plan so much so that, again, everything's too rigid to sort of move around and flow through freely, right? So I would definitely sort of find a balance between, okay, here's the idea, now let's run with it, sort of situation, right? I think that serves me a lot better. I don't know that I needed to have everything exactly structured right away. You just sort of learn as you go. But that was definitely my why for creating this project. And it keeps me going. And on these days that I don't feel like working on the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, there are so many days where I'm like, I would so much rather be doing something else, or because it's taken so long, you have those sort of self-doubts and excuse me, you have sort of that excuse me, you have the imposter syndrome where you feel like, who am I to do this thing when there's so many other more talented people doing it? But at the same time, knowing like why I want to do it, right? Why the whole purpose of this deck, the whole sort of idea and the intention behind it, and the amount of love and care that I've put behind it sort of keeps me going on those days where I'm second guessing myself, or I'm feeling like maybe I should do something else, right? And you guys have been super helpful in that as well, because anytime I have those moments, I'll get messages from you guys. And you'll hear me say this all the time because I appreciate it so, so much. I'll get messages from you guys. I'll get little sweet notes. I'll hear things from you about how interested you are in it. I'll get like an influx of people on the wait list. I'll get something that the universe will say, hey, you're in the right direction, right? You're going the right way. Just keep going. And so that's been very, very interesting for me. I think I've learned so, so much about myself in the process of creating this deck, more than I thought I would. Because I think we go into certain things as creators. Of course, I'm going into it thinking that I want to be purposeful and introspective, but I didn't have an idea of the amount of information that I would learn about myself through the process of creating this deck. And so it's definitely been a test of my resolve. It's definitely been a labor of love. And so I enjoy it, and I enjoy being able to share this with you all. And I hope that it inspires you to create whatever it is that you want to see in your life, and whatever it is that you want to build for yourself. Because I'm just a girl from Chattanooga, Tennessee. You know what I mean? I'm not anybody special or, anything like that. I'm just a regular person who decided to take a chance and bet on myself and to go after my dreams. And you can do the exact same thing, right? So again, which is partially why I shared the LinkedIn learning, because if there is something that you want to learn, maybe you're in a career and you want to pivot and you don't know where to go, with a library card, you have access to all of these classes, and maybe you can try something new. Maybe you can do something new that'll change the trajectory of your life, right? So I'm all for sharing those resources, because again, a lot of this stuff I had to learn on my own, and that information I literally stumbled on maybe 2 hours ago, right? And so I wanted to make sure that you had it as well. So yeah, we're just developing this, and again, what I'm doing right now is I'm just sort of drawing in the shapes of books on my bookshelf, and I'm using some of the colors. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go to my Hierophant card, and I'm going to pull some colors from the bookshelves there. Now again, these are going to be slightly brighter because we're closer to the camera than the bookshelves in the Hierophant card, but I am going to use that as a sort of jumping off point, and then I'll mix and mingle some of the colors that we've already laid down. So we're just doing flats, and again, flats are just the base colors before we add any detail to these books. And that's about all there is to it. Now I picked up this color. Okay, it's super dark. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind. All right, so yeah, we're just working on this project. Now again, I've been working on this for 5 years since November of 2019. And there are, of course, days where, I don't know that I'm doing the right thing. And again, when I get messages from you guys, or I get some sort of, message from the universe, or the angels, or the spirit guides, the ancestors, or whoever's sending these messages for me to keep going, it always helps. But knowing why I'm doing a thing, knowing why you want to do a thing, is always going to be your go-to when you lose motivation to do something, right? Because again, 5 years is a long time to commit to a project. And, on paper, you may not know whether or not it succeeds. Now, I am Team Brittany. So I have no doubts in my mind that this will go well. But getting there sometimes will test your resolve, and will test your patience, and all of that. So yeah, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're not really sure whether or not it's going to go the way you hope it'll go, you just have to know why you're doing it in the first place, right? Why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the money? Are you doing it for the freedom of creation? Are you doing it for the ownership? I was listening to Tabitha Brown recently did an interview, and I don't know the guy's name, but I've been seeing him a lot lately. But she talked a lot about ownership. and how she had sold like $40,000 worth of t-shirts, and you know, and what she learned from that was that she has much more power when she owns the things that she creates, and you have the right and the power to own the things that you create, right? So I want you to believe in yourself enough to, you know, take a chance on you, bet on yourself. Make sure though that you have, you know, everything in order for you to do that. Don't just take a leap of faith without sort of, you know, your financials in place, without, you know, something going on to make sure that you're still able to live comfortably, right? But even if you're committing 15, 20 minutes a day to something that you actually want to do, commit those 15 to 20 minutes a day, right? You have to sort of do it because it's not going to get done otherwise, right? All right. So our bookshelf is looking pretty good. I'm just again laying in the shapes of books, and then I'll come back in here and we will work on some of the details. Right. So just want to do some color variations because, like our references, there are books of many different colors and many different sizes and things like that that we can pull from and use as a basis for our books. So yeah, if you're watching this live or the replay, I really appreciate you for being here. If you've made it this far in the replay, I hope that you made it past our technical difficulty that we had. I don't know what the heck was going on. I know before I started, I was experimenting with the way that I shared the screen, because typically when I share it, the camera is all in my face. So I was like, well, let me try to make it a lot smaller. And somehow or another, I had it muted. So again, shout out to PL for letting me know that you could not hear me because I had no idea. I was just talking too. All right, so that's how we're looking. We're looking pretty good. Again, just the base colors for right now. I do want to give it the same sort of amount of attention to detail as I did the globe, where it looks like a globe. So these will look like books, but they don't necessarily have to be the most beautiful books in the world. They don't necessarily have to have titles or anything like that on them. I just needed to say, hey, these are some books on the shelf. You know, let's see what's going on in our design. So for the time being, I'm going to sort of play with that. I think I'm going to play with the bookshelf a little bit. And let's see, what I'm going to do is make a selection, and then I'm going to add some texture to this bookshelf. Now I'm going to do that using my dry brush, and this is all experimentation because I have no idea if this is going to work or not. But for the time being, we're going to try it out. We're going to see if it works, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll pivot. And that's sort of how it goes when you're creating artwork. Don't hold yourself too tight to an idea, right? Allow yourself the room and the space to pivot where needed and enjoy it, right? So to me, this is all play, even though we are working, and I am very much working towards completing this project. I don't necessarily want to be so rigid in the idea that I have to use this brush and it has to work this, that, and the third. If you do that, you'll kind of cut yourself off from some of the happy accidents that can come about as you create your work. So, and happy accidents, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is something that Bob Ross used to say a lot. There was, and I used to love watching Bob Ross when I was a kid. So he would always talk about the happy accidents, and I am definitely Queen Happy Accident because a lot of the times things will sort of come up in my artwork, and I couldn't tell you how it happened, but it happened, and I'm glad to have it. So hooray for happy accidents. And you do want to leave yourself room to have those sorts of experiences in your artwork. So far this is looking pretty good. What I'll do is I will, once I get sort of some dimension going in the wood, I will go and use my smudge brush, and I will add more sort of striations and textures and things like that. I just want to give the idea of wood, and then we can add all the details a whole lot later. So I'll do some variations in how this looks. I don't want to go too dark. I don't want to go too light. I want to have a little bit of balance in this. And I just want to be free about it, right? So that is also the sort of positive of doing something that you actually love to do, or making time for something that you love to do. It's fun. Again, even though this is work and this is very much my job, to create illustrations and things like that, because I enjoy it so much, it doesn't feel like work, right? It feels like play, and it feels like I get to draw on the screen. And one thing we have not discussed is what I'm drawing on. So the program that I'm using is Clip Studio Paint. I say this every week, but I know there are always new people coming in. So Clip Studio Paint is my digital illustration program of choice. There are lots of choices out there. I started in Photoshop. I think I started digital artwork like at the very beginning of digital artwork, right? So I started drawing in Photoshop because that's the only thing we had to draw in. And I transitioned from Photoshop into Clip Studio Paint, I would say about probably at the beginning of this project, because I think I started it in this particular program. So at the beginning of this project, 2019 is when I started working in Clip Studio pretty exclusively. I've tried Corel Painter. I'm not a fan of the mechanics of Corel Painter. The shortcut keys are a little all over the place. But generally speaking, most digital painting programs work about the same. They usually all have the same shortcuts, and shortcuts are important because one of the beauties of digital art is that it can be a lot faster than traditional art because we have the shortcut keys. I can select this area with a lasso tool or with a selection tool as opposed to using masking tape if I were doing a traditional painting, right? So there are some things that make this a lot faster to work in. Not always, right? I think there is a misconception that because it's digital, it's always faster. I have easily spent 40 to 50 hours on an illustration in any given time. It just kind of depends on the level of detail, but there are things that make it a whole lot easier than creating traditionally, right? So right now I'm actually working on a traditional painting for someone, and someone asked why the switch to primarily working digitally. And for me, it's just less to deal with, right? I don't have to pull out my easel. I don't have to pull out paints. I don't have to clean brushes. I don't have to do any of those things. In order to create, I could just pull out a screen, which is hooked up to a monitor arm, and I just pull it down and I draw on it, right? The program is perpetual license. So I know that for Photoshop, which is one of the reasons I switched away from Photoshop, is that it is a subscription. And I didn't feel it necessary for me to pay a subscription to draw. Even though I was also using Photoshop in my graphic design work as well. Even for that, I switched over to Affinity, the Affinity suite. So that's designer, photo, and publisher. And I've been rocking and rolling ever since. So yeah, I really enjoy Clip Studio Paint. And I'm working on a Huion tablet. So for me, this is what you would call a screen display. It is a 24-inch screen display. So now I'm taking off the sketch so I can kind of have a look at what we're looking like. And it needs a little work, but it's a great solid foundation. So what I'm going to do is turn that sketch back on, and I'm going to reselect my bookshelf, and we're going to keep working on it. But yes, I am working on a Huion 24-inch tablet. Before this one, I had an XP pen. And I couldn't tell you what it was. I think it was Artist 22E or something like that. But at the time, I think XP Pen was a very new company. The quality was not quite as great as this particular Huion tablet. Certainly not as good as your Wacom, which is going to be your S tier company for digital painting tablets and things like that. Nowhere near Wacom, but certainly not as good as the Huion, which is what I'm drawing on. But that's what I had. I had an XP pen. I think it was like $500. I got it from Amazon, and that was my first screen display. But before that, I had a Wacom Intuos Pro, and I had the large size, which was a little bit smaller than this particular 24-inch tablet. But the way it worked is that you would draw in it, and then you would look at the screen. And so it was a lot of hand-eye coordination going on. But before that, before the Intuos, I had a Bamboo, which worked very much the same. The Intuos was just bigger, so it gave me a larger surface area to work on. But I do enjoy the Huion, right? I do know that it is an investment. So for me, it was something that I worked up to. It wasn't necessary for me to have something like this. It was just what I wanted. I like being able to draw directly on the screen. Now, that to me is very similar to the way that I work traditionally, because when I work traditionally on a canvas, I'm painting on an upright canvas. And this one is mostly, for the most part, upright. It's just at a slight angle. But I do enjoy it. I do recommend it for anyone who is looking for an upgrade to whatever their current setup is. I do also have an iPad. I don't draw on it very often. The only thing that I do in my iPad is I sketch. But other than that, I like the Huion. So, just a little bit of housekeeping keeping of what we are working in and what we're working on. Now, currently, Clip Studio Paint is autosave. That is probably my favorite feature of this entire program because autosave means that if this program crashes, which it has done maybe once or twice in the years that I've used it, I can actually go and pull up the backup file of wherever it last left off, right? So that's very, very helpful because with digital art, each brushstroke contains pixels, and the more pixels the file has, the heavier and the slower it is to sort of work on. So you'll see a little bit of a lag as I, do these brushstrokes. Whereas when we didn't have any pixels at all, it was moving a lot faster. So autosave is probably for sure my favorite feature. Some of the other things that you can do in Clip Studio is that you can use the 3D models, which I absolutely love, especially when posing figures. I use the 3D models quite often for that. You do have to sort of finesse them because otherwise they are very stiff if you just kind of use them as is. But it is a good jumping off point. So if you want to create your own references and you don't want to have to pose for those references, the 3D models are absolutely helpful, right? All right. So what I've been doing is the same thing. I'm just adding some sort of texture to my bookshelf. I'm not doing anything too fancy. What I'll do here in a moment is turn off my sketch, which we did, and then I am going to take my smudge brush and in Clip Studio Paint, the shortcut for the smudge brush is J, and I'm going to grab Smudgy, which is a smudge brush that I got from the artist Eric Anthony, and I'm just going to sort of move some of this around and add some more of that sort of wood texture to it. And I'm just playing up the texture that we've already sort of laid down with our chalk brush, right? And we're just going to move these things around. Now, immediately what I'm noticing from when I put in a little bit of shadow on the sides of our bookshelves is that it's a little bit off. So I'm going to go in and correct some of that. But I'm just playing. Again, we're just, nothing about this has to be serious. Nothing about this has to be perfect today. We'll tighten it up just like we did with our globe last week. And we'll go from there. And I'll add some lines such as that to sort of emphasize the wood panel look to it. But again, we don't want this to look too hard because this is happening in the background. And whatever we give all of the detail and all of the sort of brightness to is what our eyes will be led to. And so we want to be very deliberate about where we want the eye to go. And in this case, I don't necessarily want the eye to go to the bookshelf. Again, this is just ambiance, just like our globe. It's not super important. It just needs to be there to tell the story that they're in this library setting. And that's it, right? We're just emphasizing where we are in this world. Now, I don't know, again, how long it's going to be for me to work on this picture. This was supposed to be one of the faster ones because there are far fewer pieces to it. But you know what? I'm kind of glad because it's giving me an opportunity to think about the next set of cards. Now, I have not done any sketching or planning or anything like that. But everything for me starts in the mind. So, and everything for you starts in the mind as well, but everything for me definitely starts in the mind. So, what it has done is kind of given me the idea or giving me the time and the space to think about where I want to go with my threes, right? So, with the threes, that is the Three of Cups, the Three of Pentacles, Three of Swords, and the Three of Wands. I do have an idea for my Three of Wands. I'm really excited about it. I've had this idea probably since the beginning of this project. And what I would like to do is have my character walk into a scene and have a portal in the background because, of course, this is a Cosmic Gateways Tarot. Have a portal in the background, but the things that she's finding sort of as she walks up to this portal are going to be based on a story that I heard in a documentary that I saw from Benny the Polyglot, I believe his name. So Benny the Polyglot was, and for those of you not know, a polyglot is just a person who speaks a lot of languages, and I like language, so I find all that fascinating. But Benny the Polyglot was in, I think, Aswan, Egypt, and within Aswan, Egypt, he ran into a Nubian man, and the man was sort of telling the story of how all of their artifacts, all of their monuments, all of their temples and things that were specific to this Nubian community had been flooded and dammed off and sort of lost in time. And so I kind of want to play with that a little bit. That story, I saw that story many, many years ago, and it stuck with me ever since because I always found that very fascinating. very much in line with sort of the why of this deck, because so much of history is sort of lost to capitalism, right? To greed, to political views and things like that. And so I think it's important to have certain positive representations. But for this particular community, a lot of their monuments, a lot of their temples and things like that were thousands of years old, were flooded. To make a dam or something with a Nile. But anyhow, always that story always stuck with me, right? So my three of wands, I think I want to play up that story a little bit, and then for my three of swords, I've been kind of thinking, I've been going back and forth about it because I don't know yet if I want to go with the traditional three of swords motif, which is the heart with the three sword in it, or if I want to actually illustrate what that feels like, right? So one of the things that I do when I'm planning cards and I'm sort of looking at keywords and looking at, your base meanings is I try to find an actual scenario, try to think of a scenario that will fit the meaning of that card so that when you read it, it's not so ambiguous, right? So one of the issues that I had early on, now of course I've read with the Rider-Waite Smith for years now, so I have a better understanding of it, and I'm also studying it for this deck. But one of the issues that I had was that there was a great level of ambiguity when it came to the symbolism of the Rider-Waite Smith deck. So, keeping in mind that the Cosmic Gateways Tarot may be someone's first tarot deck, right? And so the person receiving this deck may be, and I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of people who've read tarot for years who'll be buying this deck, but also considering the people who've never read tarot before, who may be very unfamiliar with certain things, who probably aren't even interested in studying, some of the old symbolism, all of that. I want to make sure that this deck is very easy for that person to read, right? But also has a great level of detail and a great level of thought so that if you want to go deeper, you can absolutely go deeper. And of course, every reading is going to be unique to the reader and whatever is coming up within their, subconscious mind, within their spiritual facilities, right? So I don't know yet if I want to go with the traditional, heart with the three swords, or if I want to, put a little more to that, right? Because I do know that with the three of swords, there is a lot more to it than just heartbreak. You have to take into consideration that swords are deal with the mind and the mental and the thoughts and things like that. So we'll see. I'm going to play with that, but again, taking my time with this particular deck has given me a whole lot of time to think about it, which is nice. Even though I would very much like to be done with it, again, that kind of allows me not to have to rush into the next thing. Now I'm just adding again some of the details to this bookshelf. It's looking a little muddy, so I'm going to take my smudge brush again and soften some of this up, because again, this is not super important. I don't want to have too many details so that you're not sitting thinking, oh man, that's a lovely bookshelf. It's just ambiance, right? Again, what's much more important to this card is what's happening with our main characters. I'm not touching the books, not yet. I'm going to add some details to those a little bit later on. But for right now, we're just sort of working with our bookshelf, right? Now, so what you don't see is that I actually have a keyboard right up under my screen, and I'm able to sort of go back and forth between the brush and the smudge. And you'll see all of that sort of changing in the panel, two panels up. So the panel immediately above my head is the layers panel, and right above that is the brush panel, or the sub tool panel is what it's called in Clip Studio. But if I go to brush, that'll change. If I go to the smudges, it'll change. And so you'll kind of see some of that happening in there, but I'm just clicking on the keyboard in order to get those shortcuts. And again, shortcuts are one of those things that will come in handy when it comes to digital artwork, because they keep you from having to scroll through a whole bunch of menu settings to find, the one tool that you're looking for, right? All right. All right, so we're probably going to keep this a short live stream today. If you've been here from the beginning, I do appreciate it. Like I said, we had some technical difficulties, but I appreciate y'all for hanging in there with me. Again, if you want to support this live stream, if you want to support this project, the easiest way for you to do that for me is to hit the thumbs up. And I used to be like, anytime I would hear like a YouTuber say that, I'd be like, child, what for what? But what I've learned is that the way the algorithm works is that if you like something and you're very active on YouTube, then they will take whatever it is that you like and recommend it to people who also like the same things, right? So the whole goal is to get the project out to people. And so to help me get the project out to people, if you're not telling them about it yourselves, the easiest way for you to do that is just to hit the like button, right? You can also share this live stream because it will be available for replay. And if you're watching it on the replay, you are a witness to this. I don't edit these, so whatever happens on it. But if you would like to support me and sort of get the word out about the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, that would help me out a good deal. Other ways that you can support me as an artist is by going to my shop and purchasing something there. That means the world to me. I do a little happy dance every time my phone says cha-ching, which it does, and I absolutely love that sound. So anytime I hear that little notification go off that you guys have ordered something from my shop, I do a little. I swear to goodness, I do. I go get my son, and me and him do a happy dance because we're excited that you bought something from my shop. And everything in my shop ships within a couple of days because everything in my shop is in stock, right? Except for the canvas prints. Now, again, the canvas prints take about 2 weeks or so to manufacture because I do order those and have some. I used to make them myself, but just time consuming. So I do have someone who is much faster and better at it than me create those for me, and we ship them out to you within about 2 weeks. So if it's something that you want to get for the holidays, I do highly recommend you ordering those now. They do ship for free. So if free shipping is something that you enjoy, canvas prints always ship for free. I do try to keep the shipping on everything else relatively low because I know shipping's never fun to pay for. As someone who has offered shipping for free many times, and there's been a great debate on Threads lately. I don't know if you guys are on Threads, but been a debate where it says that someone said that they would rather pay $20 in free shipping for something than to pay $12 and $8 for shipping. And I think that's a little bit of buyer psychology, but there's never a such thing as free shipping. We do pay for that. Somebody pays for it, right? But you do get to enjoy free shipping on those canvas prints. So if there's something that you're interested in, by all means, they are available right now for until the 3rd for 40% off. Right. So otherwise they start at $199 for a 12 by 18 and they go all the way up to a 24 by 36. And you can have those framed or unframed. I personally prefer the framed because they just look nicer on the wall. But they do arrive to your doorstep ready to hang. So they already have all the hardware on them. I think they have instructions too, but you just hang them on the wall. They're ready to go. So those are available in my shop, as well as my books and ebooks and journals and things like that. And I do have my journals. So let me show you what they look like. So I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger, just a little bit, just so you can see me just a little bit better. All right. So I do have journals available. Now I have the tarot themed journals, and this is one of those. This is the Hermit journal. I have three of these, or three varieties of these. I have the Hermit, I have Judgment, and I have the High Priestess. This is what it looks like. It is a 60-page lined journal. I love these little things. I keep them in my backpack. So anytime I go like get the oil changed or I'm at a convention or something like that, I usually have one of these with me. This is the one that I use for display purposes. So it does have a sticker, but yours will not have this sticker on it. It'll just be a beautiful soft journal. The best pen to use with this print run is going to be a ballpoint pen. Once we get these reprinted, you can use a pencil or whatever it is that you like, but a ballpoint pen works for these particular books for right now. I also offer the Witchy Things journals. They look like this. So I have the dark one and I have the pink one. They have, it looks like we're frozen. So let's see if we're going to catch back up so you guys can see these. There we go. All right. So we do have the dark version of that. And then we have the pink version of that. And I like these because I have written in them affirmations. So every so often as you're writing through your journal, you'll come across an affirmation just sort of as a little message from the universe to you. In the dark one, the affirmations are written in the back. So you do have a list of affirmations in the back of the book, but they'll come up as you sort of work your way through the journal. The pink one just has them scattered out throughout. This was the first one that I designed and created, so I did not put them in the back. But if I do a rerun of these, I might go ahead and list all the affirmations in the back because that seems to be something that you guys really like and respond positively to. So those are the journals. I also have the poster prints in addition to the canvas prints, and those are 11 by 17. So they look like this, right? Oh, it's upside down. So they look like this. This is the Queen of Pentacles. This beautiful luster paper that you can frame, and they have frames available specifically for this size at Walmart for like $6, right? But when you receive it, you will receive it in plastic and with the cardboard behind it, just like this. So it'll come protected just for you. And you can leave it in the plastic. I've had people show me theirs on the wall and it's been in the plastic. So do you. But if you would like to frame them, they do have some really nice, really inexpensive frames, 11 by 17, that you can get at Walmart that I really like. So if you do want to support me and you want to sort of shop and get your items and your favorite things for the holidays, right now is probably the best time to do that. Otherwise, again, everything ships out within a couple of days except canvas prints, and that takes 2 weeks. So I think we're going to wrap it up there. We've been here for about 58 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and show you what we worked on so far today, and it's coming together really good. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about it. um, because I think because it's taking so long, and we were taking a little bit of time to get to some of the background details and things like that, it was kind of worrying me a little bit. I ain't gonna lie, but I do feel a whole lot better about it now. I say this every week. I'm gonna sit here and work on this, but I don't know if I will or not. So no matter where we leave off today, next week we'll pick right back up with it, and I will probably be here for another couple of weeks, and then after that we'll do a reaction video to some of my older YouTube channels. So whether you're watching this live or the replay, I do appreciate you for being here. I do apologize again for the technical difficulties that we had in the beginning, but what's a live stream without a little technical issue? It seems like it's something every week, but we work through it. And I hope that watching me create my dream project gives you inspiration to create something that you absolutely love and something that you've been dreaming of. Again, if you are interested in free courses, and this ain't sponsored or anything, like I said, I just learned about this a couple hours ago. If you're wanting to learn some business classes, if you're wanting to learn cybersecurity or technology or entrepreneurship, accounting, all kinds of classes, make sure you take your library card. And if you do not have a library card, get on down to your local library and get yourself a library card. Once you've gotten your library card, you can Google whatever your county name is, libraries, LinkedIn Learning. So for me, it was Shelby County Libraries, LinkedIn Learning. It took me to my library website where I had access to 16,000 courses within LinkedIn Learning, which I'm saying I'm going to work on this when we shut off, but really I'm going to go and look at some of those courses to kind of see what they have. But from what I've seen so far, there's photography, there's videography, there's entrepreneurship courses, there's cybersecurity courses, there is accounting and SEO and marketing and all kinds of things like that. So if you are wanting to develop some business skills, if you're wanting to sort of step your game up, if you want to start a business and maybe don't know where to start, take your library card and go look at some of those courses, because it's not going to hurt you. It is absolutely free. And again, this is not sponsored. This is just something I learned a few hours ago. So I do hope that's helpful. Now, I do hope, again, that you guys have a great, wonderful, and prosperous week. And I hope this week was good to you. And I hope that you be kind to yourself this week. And until next time, we'll see you next Sunday. Peace.